Hello and welcome to today's lesson. I have a vocabulary lesson for you, and specifically, I want to help you improve your business vocabulary. And I have some, I'm saying they're brilliant business phrases. Brilliant in the sense that they are useful, they're important, and I think they're fairly common. Now, some of these phrases are rather informal, some of them are idioms, but it really depends on the workplace because I'm from the United States. In the US, work can be pretty casual, the way you speak with your colleagues and even your boss. So I think a lot of these phrases are very common in the workplace, and hopefully some of them are new for you. Now, I've gone ahead and pinned in the chat if you would like to get a copy of the lesson notes. And there's also, you can also look down in the description. There is a link that you can use there. If you are already a part of our email community, I'm just going to go ahead and send them to you. Now, I want to present this to you as a little bit of a quiz because I would like you to participate in the lesson as we go through these different phrases. So the first question that I have for you is right here. And we're going to start out with just a fill in the blank. So you see the sentence, and I just want you to think, well, how would you complete this sentence right here? Everyone on the team needs to know what the other person is doing. It's very important that we're all on the So how do you think that person is going to end this sentence? Let me know down in the comments, down in the chat. So what do you think? Everyone on the team needs to know what the other person is doing. It's very important that we're all on the All right, so this is actually, I think, an expression that is quite common. So the answer is, let me show it to you, same page. You want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Great job, Valentina, Lali, Vinra. I was having some trouble with the chat. I didn't see these messages coming up. But if you say that you want to make sure you're all on the same page, what this means is that you are just agreeing about something, specifically how something should be done. So this is a great phrase that you would use if you're working with another person or even on a team. And you want to make sure that, okay, I know what this person's doing, I know what they're doing, I know when this needs to be finished, and we're all on the same page. So it's really a matter of being able to work efficiently and effectively, and you want to make sure that we're on the same page. All right, the next one that I have for you is right here. So again, think about the context in which I'm giving you this sentence. I'm going to arrive late. I'll need you to get me to so I know where we are at in the negotiation. So there are two blanks there. And once again, this is a pretty common phrase that someone would use in a business and work context. And think about the key word, like even that first sentence. I'm going to arrive late. I'm going to arrive late. I'll need you to get me to so I know where we are at in the negotiation. So they're basically telling this to someone else. Like, hey, I'm going to arrive late, so there's information that I'm not going to have. And they're asking that person, I need you to get me to What would you say? And this is a good, like I said, often used in work, business, but just because I'm saying that they're business phrases, you could use them in other contexts and situations as well. So the correct answer, yes, excellent. Vicky, Gustav, Svetlana, good to see you. Up to speed, to get someone up to speed. So hopefully, maybe this is a phrase that's new for some of you. I'm going to arrive late. I'll need you to get me up to speed so I know where we are at in the negotiation. To get someone up to speed means that they have all the latest information about something. So that was the key in there when I was talking about somebody's arriving late. So maybe they don't know where things are at in the negotiation, and therefore they need that other person to get them up to speed. I need you to get me up to speed so I know where we're at and I know what's going on, to get someone up to speed. All right, then we have right here, we made a major mistake, so we need to go back to the And I think this is a phrase that you've probably have heard of before, so I think maybe you guys may know this one. We made a major mistake, so we need to go back to the So think about if you're working on some project and a major mistake is made. What might you have to do? And one of the key words in this is back. We made a major mistake, so we need to go back to the what? What do you think? How would you best complete this sentence? The answer is drawing board. All right, excellent. Great job, Julia, Safihi. Maybe I'm sorry if I mispronounced some names. You want to go back to the drawing board. So this is just another way of saying we need to start over again. And of course, it's common that if a mistake is made and you can't continue, you could say, we're gonna have to start over. We need to start over. So once again, this is a way to get a little bit of variety. If you're in this conversation and you're telling somebody, look, we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to go back to the beginning of the process and start it again because it's not working. Now, that doesn't mean every time you make a mistake, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board, because you can sometimes just fix that mistake and continue. But when you're going back to the drawing board, you're going back to the very beginning and you're basically starting over, and you go back to the drawing board. Then I have this question right here. This is the statement, and I want you again to fill it in. And this one I think is a little more challenging. So think about the situation. She's not working hard, so someone else will need to pick up the There's one word missing at the end of that sentence. Once again, this is an idiom, very common in the workplace, in this environment in which you are working with other people. So if I were to say, look, she's not working hard, so someone else will need to pick up the So again, just one word in that blank, and I think you can kind of piece together what the idiom is, to pick up the What do you think? So pick up the pace? No, pick up the pace. That would actually make sense in this context, like pick up the pace. We need to go faster. We need to work harder. Sure, that would also work. But the word that I was going for and the idiom, and again, hopefully this is maybe new for some of you, pick up the slack. Someone else will need to pick up the slack. So if you're not familiar with the meaning of this idiom, what it means, if somebody has to pick up the slack, you're trying to improve a situation by doing something, in this case work, that someone else has not done or not completed. So there are different situations in which you could use this. So for example, in the situation that I gave you, if somebody's not working hard, then there's things that need to get done still, which means if another person has to do those things, then they need to pick up the slack. Now, it's not always because someone's not working hard. There could be other situations as well. Somebody may call in sick. It happens. People get ill, they call in sick. That work, if somebody else has to do it for that day, then they have to pick up the slack. Or maybe somebody goes on holiday. They take a vacation. Well, while they're away, another person, a colleague, a team member, may have to pick up the slack. So if somebody's picking up the slack, they're just doing the work that needs to be done so that you don't get behind and that everything is done, it's completed, and you pick up the slack. But again, this is a great phrase to use when you're talking about working with other people. The next one, It's kind of office. So I gave you an example in which somebody's not working hard and then somebody else has to pick up the slack. In this case, well, I don't want to give it away. She's been working hard all night and burning the what? So in this case, we're talking about she's working really hard, or she's been working really hard all night and burning the what? I don't know if you can see those blanks. There are two blanks right there. So there are two words missing in the phrase to complete this sentence. She's been working hard all night and burning the. And I guess a hint would be the word burning, because you hear these words often used together. It's part of the phrase. Burning the, yes, midnight oil. So great job, Lolly, Mina. Excellent. Julia, if somebody's burning the midnight oil, what that means is they're just working late and into the night. So you might say this to your colleague if they're still at the office, it's really late at night, and you can say, wow, you're burning the midnight oil. You're working late into the night. The other thing I would say about this phrase is that you would often hear it in the continuous tense, and someone is burning the midnight oil. They're talking about an action that is in progress at that moment. Somebody is working, it's really late, they're burning the midnight oil. So just something to keep in mind grammatically, that you would often find this in the continuous tense. All right, we're going to switch gears, because that's something I like to do with these quiz lessons. So before I gave you a sentence and a blank and I asked you to complete the phrase, now I am just going to give you a picture. I'm going to give you a picture that is a hint as to what business phrase I'm talking about, and I want you to guess that business phrase. So the first one, it'll make a little more sense when I show you this. This picture right here, and I'll tell you what she's saying, which is also a part of a hint, but what phrase does this picture right here represent? And you can see, like, it looks like she's getting ready to run, and she's saying, I don't need to, but I'm going to go 1 more mile. All right, I don't need to, but I'm going to go 1 more mile. What do you think? And I would say that this is a phrase that's pretty common. It's an idiom. It's used frequently when talking about work. And I would also say that it's probably more commonly used in the United States, that this is an idiom that's more closely associated with American English, but also very common. All right, so the picture, and especially what she said, the key word there is mile, is to go the extra mile. Give some shout outs. Great job, Lolly, Mina, Rose, Vivian. To go the extra mile means you're going to make more effort than is expected of you. And I've given you an example sentence down here. The boss always appreciates it when our team goes the extra mile. You do more than expected, you're going to go the extra mile. And the reason why I said it's more of an American idiom, we're talking about distance, to go a mile. In most of the world uses kilometers in that case, but in the US we talk about miles, and you're going to go the extra mile. So once again, this is a very common idiom that you would use in an office, at work, talking about somebody's doing more than expected and they're going to go the extra mile. Then this one. All right, what do you think? Hopefully you can kind of tell. I'm not giving you any kind of dialogue or anything like that, just the picture. What phrase is this talking about? So you see this building right there and this guy holding that axe. And think about what is he doing and where is he at? That would be the hint that I would give you for this picture. What's he doing and where's he at? Well, he's using the axe to cut the corner of the building. So the phrase that we're talking about is to cut corners. Great job, Rose, Manuel, perfect. To cut corners means to do something quickly by doing it in a less thorough way than you should. So think about there's another phrase that you could use if you're talking about traveling and you're going from point A to point B. In that case, you would say a shortcut. So if you're talking about distance and going from one place to another, you could say, we're going to take a shortcut. If you're talking about work that you need to do and you need to do it quickly and quality is not that important to you, or you don't care about the quality, in that case, then you could say you're going to cut corners. People will often cut corners when they're trying to save time, but the problem, because you're doing it in a less thorough way, is that the quality is just not there. So in the example sentence I gave you down there, we can save some time if we cut a few corners. In general, it's not a good thing, but it is something that happens at work if people are working on a project and they may try to save time and cut corners. The next one, what do you think? Okay, so this one I think is maybe it's going to be a little more challenging. So you can see in the picture two people, and the one person is just handing that little note which says responsibility to the other person. What do you think? I think once I give you the answer and show you the phrase, it's possibly one that you've heard of before, and you'll be like, oh, yes, it makes sense with this picture. So this picture is talking about what phrase when it comes to business, or again, you could use this in other contexts and situations as well. This is something that people will do. And I'm sure we could probably all relate to it in one way or another. And Jack saves the day with the answer, great job, to pass the buck. So when you're passing the buck, and this is where that word responsibility comes into play, you're failing to take responsibility for a problem and you just expect someone else to deal with it. So instead of you being responsible for a mistake or something that happened, you're trying to have someone else deal with it and you want to pass the buck. So again, if you're at work and a mistake is made, it's not a good thing. Sometimes I'm sure you could think of a colleague that you've had in the past who did not want to own up to the mistake that they made. Maybe they blamed you or someone else, and they tried to pass the buck, saying, hey, it wasn't my fault. I was doing what I needed to do, and there's just no accountability. Now, I said you could use this in other contexts outside of work, and to just give you one point of reference would be thinking about politics. That is a situation in which people always pass the buck, and that was the example that I gave you down here. Nowadays, it's common for politicians to not accept responsibility and always try to pass the buck. Hey, it's not my fault this happened. I'm not the one who's responsible. It was the person before me, or it was this person over here, and they're always trying to pass the buck. So once again, I'd say this one is an expression that's more closely related to American English. Buck is an informal word for $1, trying to pass the buck. Then here's this next one. Okay, so I'll give you a hint, or I'll try to give you some hints, even though I think the picture does a good job representing this phrase. So you can see that in the picture there's this giant ball and these two people. What are they trying to do? What do they want to do? What business phrase is this referring to? I'll give you a moment to think about it, and then of course I'll tell you the phrase. So the one word that I want you to keep in mind would be the word ball. All right? These two people, they're pushing this ball and they're trying to get the ball rolling. All right? It's a little difficult, but yes, great job, Rose, Julia. To get the ball rolling means to begin or make something happen. And You may hear people use this just as a statement saying, hey, let's get the ball rolling. Let's start. Let's make this happen. Or we need to get the ball rolling. We need to start this process and begin whatever it is that we need to do. So again, if you're in some situation at work, you're starting a new project or something that just needs to begin, then somebody might say, look, we need to get the ball rolling, or you need to get the ball rolling. You need to start this. Come Monday morning, we really need to get the ball rolling and start planning the conference. All right. In this context, we're talking about planning something, but we need to get the ball rolling. I got one more picture, and then we're going to switch gears again. All right. What is this talking about right here? So think about the picture in the middle right there. You see that clock. And then what are the arrows doing? That would be the next hint, or what I would want you to focus on in order to get you thinking about the business phrase that I'm talking about. So we have the clock and the arrows, and we're talking about working around the clock. Great job, Lali. Perfect. Vinraj, nice. So working around the clock, you're just working all day and night without stopping. So my example sentence, we've been working around the clock in order to meet the deadline. And this is something I think we can relate to with our job. If there's a deadline and you have to work really hard, you're burning the midnight oil. And if you stay at the office all day, all night, you're working around the clock. The other thing that I would like to point out, the same like I did before, is that often you're going to hear this phrase being used in the continuous tense. And you may even hear it being used as the present perfect continuous. We've been working around the clock. You're explaining to your boss or someone else that you started in the past, you're still going now, and it's been going on. We've been working around the clock in order to get this done, in order to meet the deadline. So once again, grammatically, something to keep in mind that often you may end up using this phrase in the continuous tense. So the final part of this little quiz that I have for you, and this is a little more difficult. I tried to start out easy and then get a little more challenging as we go through this. I am just going to give you, well, the blank. Actually, no, I'm going to give you the meaning, and I want you to tell me what business phrase is this referring to. And I'll give you a little hint as we go through. So the first one, and I do think this one's a little more difficult, but the meaning of this phrase, to work as hard as other people in a group. So you're going to use this business phrase specifically when you're working in a group, you're on a team, you're working with at least one other person. That is when you're going to use this phrase. But the meaning of it is to work as hard as other people in a group. All right, so because I told you it's kind of difficult just getting the meaning, let me give you a hint. All right, so there is the phrase, and I'm just blanking out one word in there, to your weight. Which verb are you going to use? Which verb is a part of that phrase to complete it? And the meaning of it is to work as hard as other people in the group. I hope that the verb that you're thinking of is pull, to pull your weight. And you don't have to say pull your weight. You could put another pronoun in there, pull his weight, to pull her weight. Everyone has to pull their weight. And what this means is that you're saying that everybody needs to do their job. They need to do the things that they're responsible for. And everybody, you just need to work as hard as everyone else in the group in order to get something done. A lot of times you may hear people use this in the negative, saying that someone is not working as hard as others in the group. And you'd say, this person, they're not pulling their weight. He's not pulling his weight, or she's not pulling her weight. and you're saying that they're not working as hard as everyone else. So you may often hear this one used in the negative. The example sentence, I tried to combine it with that other phrase because if you don't pull your weight, then someone will have to pick up the slack. So think about the meaning again of both of those phrases. If someone is not pulling their weight, they're not working as hard as others. Well, now there's some extra work that needs to be done. Somebody's going to have to do that, in which case they're going to have to pick up the slack. All right, so think about both of them being used in that context. If you don't pull your weight, then someone's going to have to pick up the slack. Then how about this one? All right, the meaning is to make sure someone knows what is happening, especially in a situation that is quickly changing. To make sure that someone knows what's happening, especially in a situation that is constantly changing. What do you think? All right, let me know in the chat if you can think of the meaning of this this idiom right here, or this phrase. So to give you a hint, again, because I know it can be a little challenging, but yeah, so I think you guys got it. Again, you're aware of what's going on, and you're telling someone to keep me posted. So you could use a word like I saw some people like updated. Sure, there are different words that you could put in there, but I think commonly people are going to use the word posted and use the phrase, "Hey, look, keep me posted." All right, I want to know what's happening. The situation is changing. Just please keep me posted. So the sentence that I gave you down there, I want to know what happens during the meeting. Please keep me posted. Just know that this is different than somebody saying, get me up to speed. If you're getting someone up to speed, it's basically like you're telling them what's happened in the past so that they have all the information now. Keeping someone posted is like keeping someone you're updating them. As the situation changes, you're letting them know what's happening and you're keeping them posted. And a lot of times I think people will use this statement more as a request. And somebody would tell you, look, keep me posted. Let me know what's going on. Just keep me posted. The next one, all right, refers to, a lot of you guys did good on that. You got that last one. Good. I'm glad. How about this one? What do you think? This refers to something that is uncertain, often because other matters have to be decided first. So it's not like you can, I don't want to give it away. You can't really make a plan. Something's uncertain and other things need to be decided before you can make a final decision. And I mentioned the word already, so that's kind of a hint. I think a lot of times you may use this when talking about plans or discussing plans, or you're trying to talk about when something should be done. But again, it's uncertain because other matters have to be decided first. To give you a little bit of a hint, the phrase begins with the word up. What would you say? If somebody's asking like, hey, what are your plans? And somebody might, well, right now things are uncertain because I have to make some other decisions. So my plans are up. Okay. And there are a few words missing, which are in the air, up in the air. Great job. Rose, Jack, Lolly, Xavier, perfect. So again, I gave you an example sentence down there also using plans, like right now our plans are up in the air. So basically when you're telling someone that your plans are up in the air or something's up in the air, you're letting them know that a decision has not been made and that things are uncertain. It's up in the air. And you could use this at work because people talk about trying to make plans, or even travel is another time when somebody may use this phrase like, hey, what are your travel plans? Well, right now our plans are up in the air because I don't know if I have to work or if they're going to let me take vacation. So right now things are just up in the air. Great phrase, good phrase to use. The next one, what do you think? The meaning is ready to work immediately on a new activity. You're ready to work immediately on a new activity. You are going to do what? And perhaps this one may be new for some of you, which is good. Because again, in all these lessons, my real goal is that you learn something new. The key word in this, I think, is immediately. You're ready to work immediately on a new activity. You're going to do what? And I'll give you a little bit of a hint right there. There are 3 missing words. You're going to running. And the final word of this business phrase is running. And it means that you're just ready to work immediately and start this new activity. You're going to running. All right. So the phrase that I'm talking about is to hit the ground running. And if you say that you're going to hit the ground running or you need to hit the ground running, it means you just need to start immediately and you're going to begin this new activity. It's almost like there's no time for real training or orientation. You just need to begin and start immediately, which is the key word there. And you're going to say, we're going to hit the ground running. So for example, in this sentence, if you accept this new position, you're going to have to hit the ground running. There's not going to be a lot of time to learn and become familiar with the new position and your responsibilities. You got to start immediately, quickly, and hit the ground running. So then, all right, so I think maybe some of you knew that one. What do you think about this one? This phrase right here. So the meaning is talking about the investigation or exercise of care that a responsible business or person is normally expected to take before entering into an agreement or contract with another party. So this is, well, again, I don't want to give it away. Just think about the meaning. And I know this is a rather longer meaning. I actually shortened this because I wanted to fit it on one page, but it was much longer. But this is an investigation, or the act of investigating, or this exercise of care that a business or person is expected to take. This is something that they should do before entering into an agreement or contract with another party. Perhaps like before buying a company, or before you, of course, like sign a contract. You should trying to I have to stop myself before I give it away, make it too easy. See a correct answer. There is one of the words. There's 2 words. And the verb that I was going to use, it's often used with the verb do. You should do what? And this is a pretty common phrase now that that you're thinking about it. Yes, you guys know it. Excellent. Alejandra, Hamdi, Manuel, Boguski. We're talking about due diligence. And as I mentioned, it's often used with the verb do. Someone needs to do their due diligence. And that's referring to that exercise of care to understand what it is that they're getting involved in. And you should always do your due diligence. So the example, you should do your due diligence before signing the contract. Read through it, understand what it's saying, and really do your due diligence. This is a common phrase that I think is used in the business world, doing one's due diligence. So here, again, if you would like to get a copy of these lesson notes, I've pinned the link in the chat. There's also a link down below in the description. If you're already a part of our email community, I'm going to go ahead and email them to you so you can check your inbox. But these are phrases that I think are fairly common in a work environment. So here's a review of all 15 phrases that we talked about today. And just to give you a little bit of a quick review and use some of these, because I know that when it comes to building your vocabulary, learning new words and phrases, I feel like a lot of you are always willing to go the extra mile. You're joining these lessons, you're reviewing the lesson notes, and I think that's really going to help you, because when you're building vocabulary, there's no need to cut corners. Learning a language and building your vocabulary, it is a longer process. And I think that as long as you start this process and say, look, I'm going to try to learn so many words a day, I'm going to get the ball rolling and really try to learn a lot of new words and phrases this year, then I think that's the most important thing. And if you haven't started, then what I would suggest is that you just, you begin and you hit the ground running and just start learning these words and phrases immediately, trying to practice using them. Because like I said, it's a long process building your vocabulary. You may forget some things, but there's no reason to go back to the drawing board. You don't have to go back to the beginning. You can just review and try to remember the word, the meaning, how it's used. And yeah, I think you guys know this stuff. I'm trying to think of other words that I can throw in there, other phrases before we wrap things up. But once again, it takes time. It's not something you have to just work around the clock. You take your time, try to learn a little bit each day. And of course, I would love it if you keep me posted. Let me know down in the comments how things are coming. Have you been learning new words? Have you been improving your English? Let me know. Keep me posted down in the comments. I love hearing from you. So that's the way that we'll wrap this up right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. I hope you learned something new. And as always, yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I